ladies and gentlemen. Hello from New York City, and welcome back to the WCS America Premier League Round of 16. We're currently in the winner's match. We're tied 1-1 between Alive and Ryung. I'm axeltoss, joined by axslav. The two players are ready.
Let's do it, of course. The winner of this advances to the playoffs.
Oh, yes.
So far, we saw Ryung take out Polt. The loser of this match will have to go down and face Polt. And then the loser of that one will be limited. The winner of that will go to the playoffs. So both players really want to win here and just get straight to the playoffs. No one wants to have to tangle with Polt in that deciding match.
So we don't have a lot of data to draw upon, but it feels like the forte of Ryung is when the game goes longer and longer. It feels like the forte of Alive is in the early stages. Of course, that's based on 2 games in the last series, so that's not much to go on, but I'm still really interested to see what Alive decides to do. I feel like it's up to him to make a decision. Does he want this game to be a shorter one? Does he want to go for early aggression? Or does he let it go late again and try to go toe-to-toe with Ryung as it gets late? Because that is a scary person indeed, that is Mr. Ryung when it gets to the late game. So we'll see what happens here. The map is Aquilon Wastes in this deciding match between these two fine gentlemen. In the top left-hand location, we have your Red Terran player representing Team Evil Geniuses. He is Alive. His opponent in the bottom right-hand location, showing formidable late-game play in TVT. Representing Team Axiom, he is Ryung.
Oh, Ryung's going gas first against a Proxy Marauder build. I'm almost positive this is Proxy Marauder. It's typically what this is. That is rough, because gas first is really not what you want to do against Proxy Marauder. You want to have the Marines in the bunker out as fast as possible. If Ryung scouts this, he's still going to be okay. And but if he doesn't, Marauders can just do so much damage. And this is a situation where it's like Alive, like you mentioned, he's looking at his last 2 games and like, well, if I get to mid game versus Ryung, he's just too good.
Yeah.
Like, he's just too good. Even, I mean, even Polt in the mid game was just falling behind every single mid game. He was able to win the one game that went super long because his engagements were a little better. But the positional way Ryung plays the mid game is pretty much unparalleled. So, very smart play by Alive to use this build. And Ryung is not going to know what's coming until he gets to Alive's base, and he's going to immediately know what it is by counting the SCVs and see the lack of barracks, but the gas is there.
So what does Ryung need to do to hold this off?
So he needs to just immediately build a bunker as soon as he sees this. And ideally, you put a bunker on the low ground so you don't get contained and have to worry about taking your natural. But I'm not sure, with the gas first, can he get a bunker on the low ground? Or would the Marauder stop it? I don't know if he would be able to get it up in time.
Well, Marauder's about halfway complete. Ryung just now identifying what is going on. First Marine coming out on the field, going to shove away that SCV. Ryung not reacting just yet. There we go, an SCV being sent out here to the top of his ramp. So it looks like he was going to want to put a bunker on the high ground.
I think that's the right call. If he tried to build on low ground, it would be he'd have to pull 7 SCVs to try to support it. The high ground's much easier to defend because the vision problems the Marauder has. He has to step on the ramp to see the bunker, and then, of course, you have the SCVs and Marines can greet him.
Yeah, and it's always a scary moment because the SCVs can mineral lock down the ramp at any moment, and if the Marauder tries to poke his way up at the wrong time, he can find himself getting surrounded. A second Marauder being added on here from Alive. Concussive Shells is complete, going to start advancing up this ramp. The SCVs are here, and they will be able to repair. So with this bunker on the high ground, Ryung should be able to hold his main base, and now it's up to Alive to make a decision. Does he try to contain his opponent? Where does he go from here?
It's a really interesting question. I mean, this build, you normally don't expect to kill your opponent, but hopefully you get a couple of CV kills, you force the bunker out. And a lot of players use this to try to slow down their opponent's expansion. Also, what can happen, if your opponent builds their buildings on their ramp, you can then lift your barracks and pick off the depots that are on the ramp with Marauders from the low ground. Of course, Ryung didn't put any buildings there, so Alive's just going to back away and just, play it out from here. It's going to be a little bit, it's pseudo-even game because Ryung did have to build the bunker, but it's not really even because Ryung has a little bit faster tech, and he can use his barracks. And Alive's barracks is only being used for scouting right now.
Now, a second gas has been up for Alive for a good amount of time. He's up to 244 gas, so this does look like a cloak build. Well, I was going to say that, but he doesn't have a tech lab onto that factory, so I'm wondering what he's going to use all this gas on.
It's not really clear. Looks like
maybe
delayed cloak?
Yeah, I was about to say that, but like second command center, I don't usually get that before.
Normally, yes. but Alive just may want to stay on one base.
Because like when you say delayed cloak, the whole purpose is to get a squeaky command center in there.
It could be he feels his tech is behind his opponent, so he needs to, if he tried to go for a cloak right now and his opponent did something like a Widowmine drop, a Helling drop, he just die. And so he wants to get out that Viking and the Widowmine first. A Viking-Widowmine combination is like the ultimate defensive tool. So he's just covering his bases, is getting out his defensive tools first, and now he is going to go to Cloak Banshee, and he's getting that command center.
Yep.
Oh,
We have a medevac drop. Oh.
That's annoying.
Putting that guy down at the match.
Importantly, the biggest thing is medevac's going to see the cloak. And Ryung's not going to have a repeat of game number 1.
Widowmine being dropped in the main base here, Alive, running all of his units. Ooh, well, Widowmine taking a shot at the medevac. The medevac getting torn to shreds by the Viking.
There's no scans for Alive.
You know what he could have done? He could have burrowed the Widowmine where the starport just landed. I think that would have been pretty cool.
That would have been truly annoying. That would have been incredibly frustrating for Alive. He would have to wait until just now he can scan.
Yep.
Is he going to do it? Yes, he is.
There it is.
But the cloak follow-up from Ryung is going to be so strong. Alive's second orbital is very delayed, and he's having to use these scans. He used one scan there to kill the Widowmine. If his next 50 energy goes to a mule, that's going to be problematic because he's going to have 2 scans available when the Banshee and Cloak arrives, 1 from each command center. But 2 scans is, if he uses 1 on a mule, 1's really not enough. Banshee can't conduct that. Oh, he's getting Raven.
Yeah.
Smart call.
You know, he did scan and see the starport with the tech lab right next to it, and he scanned his opponent's 2 gases, so he can kind of guess that his opponent might be going the route of the Cloak Banshee. Also, he has a medevac coming forward into his opponent's main base. There is 1 lone Widowmine inside, going to drop that guy down. The SCV is being pulled to try to attack it, and they're going to run away. Well, oh my gosh. Okay, well, he took a lot of damage. And that's not fun at all because medevac's, well, he's going to need a medevac out, and that medevac's going to have to start working very early.
You know, Ryung has got to feel like everyone's always copying him. Every game, right? He does something, then his opponent does the same thing just like 15 seconds later. It's like, oh, let's do with the Cloak Banshees in the first game, and then the Widowmine drops in the next game. It's really funny. We see Alive actually. Looks like he's probably going mech. He's getting the armory. He's got the Raven out already.
I think he canceled Cloak.
He never actually got Cloak.
Oh, okay. I thought it said Sparkling.
Maybe I don't. Maybe.
Well, he doesn't have it now.
Yeah, he doesn't have it. That's the important part. Yep. And the reason why I think is because the medevac flew right over the base, saw double gas and tech lab, so he was thinking Ryung probably won't get caught off guard by Cloak, so let's get the Raven instead, and that way I can combat his Cloak, and it was a great idea.
We have the Banshee heading to the north side of the map here from Ryung, but the Viking is there from Alive. It does not see the Banshee yet. They're pretty darn close to each other.
That's awkward.
You can barely not hear the engines. The other player. Medevac heading to the main base of Ryung, but there are some Marines there, so we should be prepared for that. We'll keep an eye on that. A little bit of a skirmish happening there outside of the main
Marines
base.
are hurt.
Oh, that's true.
3 of them just got instantly roasted.
Remember, the Widowmine from earlier.
Yeah. They got 3 assists right there. One thing that's important to note is look at Ryung's vision. He has the Widowmine in front of the natural, the Banshees at the corners, and he's being careful with the Banshees because he knows his opponent has a Raven out there, so he only wants to send him in when he thinks there's nothing to defend, like right now.
That's exactly what he's going to do, targeting down some SCVs. Let's see how Alive reacts. Remember, he has a Raven from earlier. He needs to get that guy over here. 2 Vikings coming forward. Might decide to throw down a scan. Also, the Banshee from Ryung going straight to his opponent's main base. Ryung really trying to spread Alive out as much as possible, make him decide where he wants to protect. And the Banshee doing a decent amount of damage there. Also, we have Hellbats in production here from Alive, so it's looking like he wants to go for some Hellbat drops.
He's going mech play this game. Ryung doing a great job with these Banshees. He always, he knows when to pull him back because he basically knows where the Raven is. And he brings in one Banshee, then the Raven heads that direction. It pulls it back before it dies. The other Banshee comes from another direction and gets more damage done. Ryung is just so good at this Banshee harass.
Backing away with that Banshee in the main. And again, as you said, such cool play here from Ryung. He's at the 16 workers killed, and he's up 48-35 in Harvesters, setting himself up brilliantly as this game goes along.
I think he either has identified or he's guessing his opponent might be going mech. There's a Hellbat dropped the missile turret though. He sees it will complete soon. He sees 3 Marines in a tank and he decides, you know what, let's back away there. I mean, if the SCV didn't move, he could have still done some damage, but he knows Ryung's a great player. Just run SCVs with the medevac dying. The Hellbats would have shortly followed. So a more intelligent play to not go for the drop in. Give your opponent the credit that they'll probably defend it.
We see third orbital from both of these players starting to get deployed at their respective third bases, taking the one a little bit further back here at the nest expansion. I think might be a good way to label it. But both players still patrolling the skies. We have Alive sending a medevac to the bottom side of the map here. Again, 2 Hellbats are inside. And there's no... Okay, there's one turret at the very edge of the main there at the bottom.
I like how Ryung's like, okay, you're going to defend your main bases from the Banshee harass. I use each Banshee to control the watchtower. And every time a Marine from Alive goes to take the watchtower, the Banshee's like, nope, you're rejected.
Not happening.
And rejecting this drop as well. It could go into the third, but there's not many SCVs there.
So maybe the pilot of the Banshee can jump out and provide vision on the watchtower. But as it stands, air units cannot control watchtowers. Well, they can control watchtowers, but they can't.
They can't get the extra vision.
Right.
They can't activate it. They can just prevent your opponent from getting it, which is next best thing.
Exactly.
More factories come up from Alive, so you're really going to power out that mech army.
Medevac.
Oh. Ryung's defense is
he thought
too
about
good,
going
man.
in, but the Marines are there.
Ryung's defense is just... This guy is so good at TVT. Now, his Banshees are still, like... He hasn't lost a Banshee at this game, I don't think. It's the same 2 Banshees all game, and they're not, like, getting 20, 30 kills, but it's adding up over time, and... it's pretty significant. One has 10 kills, the other has 7. The Widowmine is still there. Just the vision and map control of Ryung is so impressive. That Widowmine just is every time Alive sends Unit out there, it just kills it. And he's like, where are these units going?
Units are disappearing. There's like some theory in his Terran camp that there's like a ghost somewhere.
It's like a Bermuda Triangle right in front of the base.
Don't go in that area.
The source of the disappearances is unknown.
Send axslav to find out.
No, I don't want to mess with a Widowmine.
Okay, we have Ryung advancing towards his opponent's third base, lifting a medevac full of Marauders and Marines.
Tank's getting some big hits here.
Yeah, volleys onto the SCVs and even onto his opponent's... Got one shot on a tank, but this has to be very annoying here for Alive. Again, he still has some Hellbats across the map in medevacs, but they're just not able to do anything just yet. Viking actually doing some damage to the medevacs, but the Marines are there to clean that up, and some Hellbats being dropped to help deal with this.
This is just... Ryung is just a mastermind here. I mean, he's only up by 10 supply, but the moves he's making are just... He's not playing risky. He's just playing very intelligent harass. Oh, Hellbat drop.
Dropping right at the third base, targeting down those SCVs. There is a bunker there with a couple Marines and a Marauder inside. Some SCVs going down, but at the same time...
Lost the medevac and both Hellbats, so...
Ryung still being annoying. Marauder finally gonna get killed over there, the third. But Ryung's setting up a fourth.
Yeah, Ryung is just... He's totally controlling the map here, and he's retreating his units when he knows that it'd be risky to keep them out there. Like, he's like, okay, my opponent could drop some Hellbats on my army. I don't have enough Marines to stop medevacs. So he pulls the set units back here.
All right, Ryung coming forward. That Widowmine is still alive, by the way, with 4 kills to his name. Marines trying to take out that Viking, but a lot of tanks here on the high ground from Alive. So I don't expect Ryung to try to, go into that location. But what he can do, stay on 4 bases, try to contain his opponent to 3, and just set up a nice tank line outside and maybe try to go for some more jobs with the Marines Marauders.
Another Hellbat drop into third, but yet again, I think he got 1 or 2 SCVs. Just Ryung has identified that's the place that's being dropped, so he's sending most of his SCVs to the 4th on the right side and just leaving a light amount of workers there. Very smart play.
All right, taking down the rocks towards his opponent's third, so Alive going to have to focus a little bit more on defenses in that area, but Ryung going to start setting up a concave here outside of his opponent's natural expansion, just making sure he doesn't move out again. I don't really expect him to try to charge up into that natural. I think that'd essentially be suicide, but what Ryung has going for him, again, is his opponent's on 3 bases, and he's on 4. If he can hold this location and just keep Alive on those 3 bases, he's going to be happy going forward.
Alive just had 9 missile turrets in production. What that is, it's a sign that he wants to think about moving out and trying to establish another base. And if he moves out, of course, he's really weak to counter drop play. Yeah. So that's why he's getting all those missile turrets. He's just super defending from drops so he can move his army out the front door.
Well, let's see if he can do it. I mean, that's a lot of stuff outside his front door.
It is. I mean, Hellbats can break it, but if he's not cost efficient, that's Ryung's fine trading.
Close eye on that. Sensor tower going down from Ryung as well. There's a scan of Alive trying to figure out, all right, what do I have to work with here? How do I break out of this location optimally? Another Hellbat drop attempted. Going to get taken out fairly quickly there by Ryung. Ryung unsieging all of his tanks for a second there, but then redeploying them. There's also that Widowmine that's still there.
He's dropping on top of... No, he's going straight to the main here. He found a 1 weakness.
We just talked about a billion turrets being added on, but Ryung finding a hole, and he's taking down the turrets as well. So those are going to have to be remade, and more importantly, opening up holes in his opponent's defenses again.
Oh, and he took out the Raven, which means that in this battle, the point defenses are so important, not having those. And now the tanks are unprotected by Hellbats, dropping straight on top of the tanks in the third base.
Oh no, Ryung playing this so well. Those tanks are so vulnerable when you're going mech. Every tank is so important, especially when you're restricted to 3 base. Ryung sending more and more forward, trying to take advantage of Alive being out of position, setting up those tanks in a perfect position, and he's going to have coverage onto that ramp, scanning up ahead so he can see what's going on, targeting down that third base with Marines Marauders running into that third, and Alive is in his position where he's like desperately trying to defend.
Oh man, the tanks, he can't even stop this Bower Army because he has to walk through Siege Tank Fire to do so.
Oh my gosh, perfect positioning from Ryung, starting all of this with that drop in the main, drawing Alive out of position, now dropping once again on top of tanks and going into the main. There's Marines and Marauders in the air everywhere, Alive trying to figure out where all this is coming from.
Man, Ryung's play is absolutely phenomenal. Is just tearing apart Alive. It's like a surgeon with a scalpel removing all the red Terran units from the map here, piece by piece.
Setting up a 5th base.
The Banshee coming in.
This is picture perfect StarCraft from Ryung here.
This is just brutal. Like every time Alive defends one location, there's another one dying. The 4th is dying. The Banshee's killed like 2 or 3 tanks here at the front of Alive's base. Alive has nothing to stop this Banshee. It's actually just killing everything.
Ryung marching into third base. And we're in a situation where now Ryung doesn't mind being cost efficient because of his economic lead. There's the GG from Alive. Ryung taking the 2-1, and he's going to join his teammates, Alicia and Crank, in the round of 8 of WCS America. Commanding play there from Ryung. First, taking the 2-1 over Polt, then taking the 2-1 over Alive. Ryung is your first player to qualify from Group D to the WCS America Premier League round of 8.
I've always known Ryung has amazing TVT, but tonight in particular, it was absolutely astounding. I've almost never seen someone against a mech player I think is at 190 food near the end there, who's turtling on 3 bases with missile turrets, siege tanks, and hellbats. How do you break that? I've almost never seen a 3-base turtle mech broken. Normally, it's you wait for them to move out, and maybe you can win in a longer game, but straight up breaking them while they're defending? Ryung, his movements were just absolutely perfect.
Really inspiring play here from Ryung in the WCS America round of 16. Guys, stay tuned. The night is still a little bit young because Polt versus Alive is going to be the last match of the night. The winner will advance to the round of 8 to join Ryung. Stay tuned, guys. You're watching WCS America round of 16, Group D.